everyone, you're watching the second season of Bite Me, and today I have a recipe that is one of the most precious recipes that our entire family has, and this is my Nana Monica's orange chicken curry. Now it's only called orange chicken curry because all the grandkids thought it looks orange, and that's why we've named it very originally orange chicken curry. So it's a coconut based gravy, and in order to start making the masala for the whole curry, you have to dry roast a bunch of things separately because they all have different cooking times and you don't want to burn anything. So to start with, you're going to get a nice flat pan. So once your pan starts heating up, you're going to get some of your spices. And over here I have 6 to 8 Kashmiri chilies. Now you're going to use 6 to 8 depending on how big they are. These aren't that big and hence I have about 8 of them. So you're just going to dry roast everything. So it will take less than a minute for your chilies to get nicely roasted, and you'll know they are roasted once you can smell them. They'll get really, really fragrant. Okay, so once that's done, you're going to put that aside. Get all of the lovely seeds out as well because that's going to be the only spice going in here, heat-wise. Okay, lower the temperature a little bit. You don't want anything to burn. Next, what I have is just some garlic, and this is about 5 to 6 cloves of garlic that I've just sliced. So once your garlic begins roasting, just stir it around because you don't want it to stick to the pan. And to your garlic, you're going to add your ginger. Now this is half an inch of fresh ginger which I've just cut up. And it doesn't really matter how you cut things up because in the end it's all going to go into a blender and it's going to get nice and blended and it's going to be a nice smooth mix after that. You'll know your garlic is done when it starts getting all these lovely brown blisters all over it. And that's just the garlic becoming all fragrant and cooked down a little bit. So that's done. I'm going to lower the temperature again. Put that with my chilies. So next you're going to get an onion, and this is about a medium-sized onion. This worked up to about 100 grams to 130 grams of red onion. You don't have to be so precise with that, as long as it's a nice medium-sized red onion. Put your flame back up a little bit, and with your spatula gently begin to stir. Your onion is going to take slightly longer to roast than the other ingredients so far. So just be patient, make sure nothing burns. This is the only actual labor intensive part of the entire recipe is making the masala, and it's really, really simple. Nana used to make this all the time, and that was a very busy woman back in the day. Nana had a lot of children and a lot of grandchildren to feed all the time. Once you've got a little color on all of your onions, you're going to take it out of the pan as well and add it with the rest of the ingredients. Next, on a low flame, I'm going to just add about 4 cardamom pods, and these are very crucial for the flavor of the curry. It's this sort of lovely aromatic that comes in at the end of every bite. And 6 peppercorns as well. Now because these are smaller, these are going to take hardly any time. So once your cardamom has colored and the peppercorn is slightly fragrant, pop it out so you don't have any burned spices. So put the flame down really low at this point, and I'm going to get 2 teaspoons of just white rice. Now, this is actually quite a well-known curry. The flavors are very homely and very comforting. Your rice will roast in about less than 30 seconds. So take that out as well. So now for the most important part of the masala, it's the coconut. And what I have here is 8 tablespoons of desiccated coconut. Give it a slight stir. Next, you're going to add 1 teaspoon of coriander powder and 1 teaspoon of turmeric or haldi. You're also going to add little less than half a teaspoon of cinnamon powder. Once you've mixed all of the turmeric and the coriander powder with the coconut, and make sure this is all done on a low flame, you're going to add 1 soup cube. Now this is optional, but it does help that whole umami chicken flavor just flow through the entire curry right from the base, and I suggest you use it, even if you're using stock. Dry roasting the coconut is really, really important because what it's going to do is get that lovely toasty, nutty flavor going, as well as getting the coconut to release its natural oils. Okay, so just be patient, stir it around. Make sure it's all nice and toasted. The soup cube will melt down slightly. So that's done. Turn your flame off and empty your coconut into your bowl as well. So you're going to wait for all of these ingredients to cool down a little bit. Then you're going to put them all into a blender, and you're going to need some kokum water to help lubricate the entire mix. Now all I have here is about 5 to 6 pieces of kokum, and I just added a little less than half a cup of water, warm water, so that I get all of that lovely kokum flavor. I'm just going to add about half of this to my mix just to make sure it's moving. Okay, So I will come back with the ready masala. As you can see, the masala takes about 20 minutes to make and blend all together. And this is the consistency you're looking for. This lovely, smooth, coconutty based masala. It's not going to be completely smooth. It's going to have the grit of the coconut, and that's exactly what you want, okay? So next, it's time to start cooking off our chicken. So what you need is a big pot or a big vessel, and you're going to heat up about 1.5 tablespoons to 2 tablespoons of any neutral oil. And here I have my chicken. Now, in order to try and be as authentic as Nana Monica, I have my chicken on the bone. To be even more authentic now, what you would need to do was just have also your skin on the chicken. It's kind of hard for me to find a chicken with skin on over here, and that's why I just have my chicken on the bone. So it's going to be hopefully just as nice as Nana's. We shall say a prayer. So all I've done to the chicken is score the pieces and added about 1 teaspoon of turmeric, and then just kind of massaged it in, as well as a little bit of salt. So all I'm looking to do over here is kind of brown my chicken and get it to caramelize a little bit. Nana never did this step, but it kind of helps the curry even more. You get that lovely chicken flavor going through all of the curry then. It's really nice. So just start by placing them in once the oil is hot. And do it in batches, that way you're not overcrowding your pot. I even have a little neck piece over here, even though that's not that much of flesh. But the bones are where you're going to get all of that lovely flavor from. So looking just for like a tiny bit of browning, like I was saying, like this is perfect, okay? So just flip your pieces. You're not looking to cook your chicken, you're just looking to get a little bit more flavor into the curry. So once you've got a nice caramelization on the pieces of chicken, take them out. Okay. Like I said, you're not going to cook it completely, you're going to finish it off in the curry in the end. And do your next batch. You're going to get that lovely fried chickeny flavor all through the curry, and that just sounds delicious to me. So once all of your chicken has been sealed, set it to the side. Okay, and in that same pan, just kind of pull off all the pieces of chicken that may be stuck at the bottom, because you don't want that to burn later on. So to this oil, what I'm going to do is add about 160 grams of tomatoes, and be careful when you're adding this into it, because the liquid from the tomatoes is going to make the oil splash, okay? There you go. Just get the tomatoes to break down a little bit by stirring them and also caramelize, and then you're going to cover it with a lid so the tomatoes break down in their own heat. When the tomatoes are all sizzling, you're going to lower the temperature again. Just lay them out into an even layer, and you're going to cover them with a lid for about 3 to 5 minutes. About 5 minutes later, you're going to come and check your tomatoes, because you don't want them to burn. Okay, and as you can see, they've broken down quite a bit. Just let that drip off in. Just give it a stir, make sure nothing is sticking. Next, on a high flame, you're going to start putting in your masala, and you're going to do this in batches as well. Okay, 1. When you're frying off your masala, make sure to keep stirring on the high flame. Make sure it's not sticking anywhere. What you're doing at this point is cooking off all of the onion and the garlic and the ginger in here. So you're going to temper down the spices as well when you're doing this. Now we're ready for the next batch. If you think the pan is too hot, just go ahead and lower the temperature and fry away. Make sure to stir the masala quite well. This will take about 1 minute to 2 minutes, and it's well worth the effort in the end, trust me. If you make your masala beforehand and just store it in the freezer, you can bang out this curry in about 30 to 40 minutes maximum. So once your masala is all nicely fried up, you're going to get about 1.5 cups of chicken stock. So on a low flame, you're going to just incorporate the masala into the stock to get a lovely silky curry. Once you've incorporated the masala paste with the stock nicely, what you're going to do is add your potatoes. Now, chicken curry without potatoes is no chicken curry at all, trust me. No one in our family would ever accept chicken curry without potatoes. So here I have about 500 grams of potatoes, and we've been known to add more as well. I've kept the skin on because these were very thin skinned, and I've just cut them in half. Now the size is important because you want them to absorb all of that delicious flavor, okay? So just go ahead and pop that in. Just stir gently to cover the potatoes in the curry. Now, if you want a thinner curry than this, feel free to add a little bit more stock or some water. But I like a nice thick curry, so it coats the chicken and the potatoes really well, and it's very nice to eat with rice or with bread. Okay, so I'm just gonna cover this now and leave my potatoes to cook almost all the way. And then I will add my chicken as well. I've given them about 12 minutes and I just stirred the curry intermittently so that none of it would stick to the bottom and burn. So 12 minutes later, now I'm just going to add the chicken which we sealed off earlier. But first, let's give it a stir. Okay, look at how beautiful that is, and it smells so good. It smells like afternoons at Nana's house. Check the doneness of your potatoes. If they are all almost done, then we're going to go ahead and add the chicken. So very gently now, I'm going to start placing the chicken in. And be careful of this curry because the orange color from the Kashmiri chilies and the turmeric will stain everything. So do not wear white when you are making this. Once you've added all of the chicken in, try and get the chicken covered in the curry. Okay. And now on a low flame, you're going to let your curry continue to cook. And you're going to cover it if it's a thick curry. If it's a thin curry and you want it to get thicker, make sure you just cover it a little bit and let some of the steam escape. But because this is a nice thick curry, I'm going to cover it completely. Put on a low flame and cook my chicken and potatoes and the curry for about 10 minutes. And then I'll come and check the doneness of my chicken as well. It's time to check the curry. And there you go. Look, the chicken's all cooked. My potatoes are cooked because I checked them just a few minutes ago. Stir everything around. Turn off your stove. Most importantly, check for salt. I checked for salt and I added a little bit more. That's up to you how much you want to add. Just allow your curry to cool down a little bit before you add a sprinkle of coriander. Now, adding the coriander is completely optional, and I don't remember my grandmother ever doing it actually, but my mom does it and it kind of lifts the entire dish. And it's time to eat. So while your chicken curry is cooking, you can obviously go ahead and make other things simultaneously. And I just made a little tiny pot of rice for myself. That's my favorite way to eat Nana's curry. When we were little, she used to put us all in like a row and she would like feed about 5 grandchildren all at the same time during lunchtime. By the way, the curry only gets better the longer you keep it. So if you're going to eat this tomorrow, it's going to taste even better somehow. It's Nana magic. Grandparents always have magic. Okay, don't forget the potatoes. I've been waiting to share this recipe with you all. And my mouth is salivating just smelling this. It smells so good. So just want to get some chicken, some potato. It's like being 9 years again at Nana's house, and Nana's made some delicious curry. Nana Monica, thank you for sharing this amazing recipe with all of us. We love you so much, and I'm so happy that I get to share this recipe from my family to your family. Be sure to try this amazing Indian curry, completely different from the North Indian curry. So in that way, it's a great surprise. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe.